Hello, Virtuoso, and welcome again to another short webinar. Today, we're going to be specifically doing a deep dive and talking about the Kentucky Derby and everything that event has to offer and how to position this type of travel product to your clients. So to start off with, I'm going to try my best to keep this thing under 25 minutes, just to set your expectations. My name is Philippe. I'm with On Point Events. We are a tour operator to most of all the most sought after sporting events out there. So things like Wimbledon, Masters, the Olympics, Super Bowl, and obviously things like the Kentucky Derby. So today, specifically, we're going to talk about kind of some updates that are going on, obviously, in the sports world as we're still trying to recover from COVID. We'll do a deep dive on the Kentucky Derby and everything that event has to offer. We'll talk about the travel experiences that we put together, or the program we put together for this event, what they include, and how they're customized. And we'll also go through a list of sort of all the key questions that you might need to be armed with in order to ask your clients or qualify your clients for this type of event. And then last but not least, we'll do a quick Q&A at the end with some of the typical questions that we always get. So moving rapidly along, live events in the US are finally starting to recover. So it's been a long haul, which I know that you can all relate to, but we're finally starting to see some big improvements, which is very encouraging. So first and foremost, Kentucky Derby this year in 2021, it was limited capacity, but it was a very successful event and done very well and very safely. And so we were super encouraged by that decision of Churchill Downs to move forward. So now we're anticipating for next year in 2022, the Kentucky Derby will happen with full capacity as far as we've been made aware so far. So most regular season sporting events are back to full capacity. We are, of course, sort of rolling with the punches, whether it be, mask mandates or, vaccine requirements for entry, or maybe just PCR test results for entry into these sporting events. So it is an ever-changing landscape, and we expect that to probably continue as far as we know for this new normal. And so if you have questions on that, or you're concerned about that, or clients are concerned about that, just please ask us. We're usually very up to date on what each of these sporting events require. So prime example is the US Open tennis event that just happened in August, September. Great news is it was full capacity, but they did have a vaccine mandate. So in order to attend, everyone had to be vaccinated. Now contrast that with the Ryder Cup, which also happened in September, again with full capacity, and there were no requirements there in terms of vaccines or PCR tests and what have you. So the good news, and what I want to leave you with, is we're trending in the right direction. Things are recovering. We're starting to slowly get back to enjoying these lovely sporting events that we love and we've become accustomed to. So with that said, we still do have sort of a COVID insurance policy that we have put together. It's actually not an insurance policy. It's what we call it the Experience Protection Plan. So for clients that are still concerned about purchasing a sporting event sometime in the future, they're concerned with sort of what's happening, COVID related, travel related, we do offer a Experience Protection Plan, which is at a premium on top of the package, the full package price. It is commissionable to you as a travel advisor. And how it works is that if the event organizer decides to cancel the event or proceed with the event without spectators, which is effectively the same thing as canceling it, then it is 100% money back guarantee. So this is a plan that we are offering for most of our events. It is one that we're offering for the Kentucky Derby. And again, it is commissionable. It is separate and different from travel insurance. It doesn't have the same coverages or covered perils as travel insurance does. So I just want to make sure I am clear about that. But it is something that we're offering. All right, so moving rapidly along, let's dive straight into Kentucky Derby. What is it? So first of all, it's a yearly event. It happens during the first weekend in May. It's always in Louisville, Kentucky. And it is considered the first leg of the American Triple Crown. So there are two other big stakes races that follow the Kentucky Derby, which is the Preakness and the Belmont Stakes, which you may have heard of. It is a Grade 1 stakes, which really just means that there's a big purse for the jockeys and owners that place in these different races. It is 2 days of racing. So the first day is, it's actually a whole week worth of racing leading up to this. But the races that we're going to be talking about today are the Kentucky Oaks, which always happens on the Friday. And that's the 3-year-old fillies, which are the female horses that race. or the female thoroughbreds that race. And then Saturdays is what's known as the Kentucky Derby, and those are the 3-year-old thoroughbreds. It is a full day at the track each day. So gates typically open at 10. The first post, which means the first race, is usually about 10:20, 10:30, and it goes all the way through until 7. There are 13 races each day. So again, it is a full day at the race, which we'll talk a little bit about. Some people want to attend both days, both Friday and Saturday. Most of our clients, and typically what we would recommend, is for people just to consider attending one day, which would be that Saturday, the Kentucky Derby. Just again, because it is a full day at the track. So Louisville, it is a citywide 3-night stay. So people come in on a Thursday and they check back out and go home on a Sunday. That's just a sort of a city mandate during this time period. This is the Derby is absolutely considered one of the top sort of bucket list trips for most people. We do a lot of couples for this race. We do some guide trips, a lot of mother-daughter trips. And of course, for those of you that are involved in corporate incentives or entertainment type travel, we do a lot of small to medium-sized corporate groups entertaining their top salespeople and what have you. It's often referred to as the most exciting 2 minutes of sports, which really comes down to it. Each race roughly lasts about 2 minutes. So that's kind of where that comes from. And of course, it's famous for mint juleps, all the extravagant, stylish hats that the women wear when they attend. And of course, the exciting horse races. So that's the Kentucky Derby. I started off with saying that we are a tour operator. So that means that we are selling complete packages or programs to these events. So specifically for the Kentucky Derby, it's highly customizable, but our packages are always going to include some portion of transportation, whether it be airport transfers, event transfers, obviously hotel, tickets to the main event itself, as well as tours and maybe tickets to parties and hospitality and other things around that. But it's very much full service. We have obviously our client team is on the ground supporting the program, supporting our clients that are traveling during that time. So it is very much high touch and white glove service. So really quickly on some of the different hotels that we do have, this is somewhat of a changing landscape as new hotels are being added into the Louisville fold. But some of the hotels I just want to highlight is, of course, the Omni Hotel, which is actually put together a fantastic product in Louisville, one that we very much like. The Marriott Downtown is another great property that we like and use. And then there are some other hotels that I don't necessarily have a slide for here that are new. That we have started using. There's the Grady, there's the Hotel Distill, the Moxie, all of which are sort of higher end boutique hotels. But then we also have more entry level type product like the Homewood Suite. There's a brand new Homewood Suites that got built, which is really nice that we use. And of course, the product, the Fairfield Inn Suites for sort of more the economy entry price point. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the actual venue. So this is an old racetrack, which means that they've been adding sections and seating and buildings and what have you to it over time. So it has actually become somewhat of a complex venue. It sits up to 150,000 people. So you can imagine it's fairly large. And there are a lot of different things to consider in talking to your clients about where to sit at the race. So a couple of things I'm going to highlight, I'm going to draw on here, is a couple of things. One is this right here, that is the finish line, okay? So all horses are going to be running basically counterclockwise. So going around the track like this. And this is where they always will finish. So this is the finish line. So you can see there's a lot of seating that's stretched on either side of that finish line. So a couple of things. One is anywhere on the first and second floor, which would be like the 100 level and the 200 level, those seats are going to be, actually the 100, 200, and 300 level, all of those seats are going to be out in the open. So that means they're exposed to the elements unless you have cover. So there is a roof line that does come over partially over some of these seats. But that's one thing that's really important to think about is if clients are sitting outside, And if it's raining, obviously they don't want to be in the rain. So having that extra cover for rain, but also for direct sunlight becomes an important consideration. Another thing to think about is during the Kentucky Derby in this infield here, there are a lot of different billboards and video monitors and things like that. And so they stack them pretty high, which means if you are sitting in the first and second floor of this track, you're not going to be able to see the backstretch. Now, the backstretch is when the horses come through this first turn here and they turn the second turn. You're not going to be able to see the horses running down this backstretch on that third turn, and then you'll catch them again as they come around that fourth turn. But that's also important in terms of something to consider for clients when they're looking at seating. Last but not least, seat comfort is also something to consider. So anything in the 100 level and the 200 level, it's going to typically be bench style seating, with the exception of over here in the pink areas. If you can see this area right here, where you'll have a back on the seat, but no armrest. So seat comfort is important. Third floor is typically where you start having seating options with cushions in certain areas. We also provide a cushion as part of our commemorative items for clients that are seated in those areas without a cushion, just to kind of make their experience more comfortable during that race. And last but not least, stairs to get to your seats. That would be important, especially for older clients. That's something specifically to think about if you're seated in the third level. There are a lot of stairs to get to the very top parts of those sections. So all of our packages, we typically start, our entry level seating is going to start on the third floor. We generally do not recommend people sitting on the first floor unless they're sitting over here in these pink areas right here in the clubhouse. We kind of tend to shy away from anything the first and second floor as part of this part of the stadium. So let me get rid of that. So hence that's our entry level seats. So I'm going to move forward here a little bit and talk specifically about what it feels like to sit in these seats. Okay, so these are the entry level seats that we just talked about, which are sections 326 through 328. This is what it looks like sitting in section 328. Now remember, the finish line is all the way down here. So one thing to consider sitting in these seats is the horses are running counterclockwise, which means they're going down this way, and they're running away from you, and of course kicking up whatever dirt, mud, depending on the conditions. And that is a long stretch to look down, and becomes very difficult to see what horse passes the finish line first. So that's sort of a downside of sitting in these seats. I'm going to show a couple other areas of the stadium just to kind of give you a compare and contrast and something to think about. But here now I'm going to look at section 111, which is obviously the opposite side of where we just were. So we were just over here. We're now looking at the opposite side, which is section 111. And this is what the seating looks like, or the view looks like from here. The finish line again is, I don't know if you can see, but it's right basically here. So you're a lot closer to the finish line. It's a little bit deceiving when you're looking at it from the seating chart here, finish line being here, but you're a lot closer to that finish line than had you been seated in 328. So again, just show you that picture. So that is an area that we do like. Now that specific section does not have cover. So that again, back to being protected from the elements, that's something to consider. Next section I want to look at is 316. So this is one that we really like. It's right on top of the finish line. And this is kind of the view that you have. So the finish line is right here, right on top of it. You have great seats with padding and a backrest, as well as covered seats in this section. So this is a section that we really like and highly recommend to a lot of clients. I want to move on to the next. All right, so far we've kind of talked about seating that is in the outside of the track. So again, everything in the first, second, and third floor, this is all seated outside. I'm not going to take you inside one of the hospitality areas. So this specifically I'm going to talk about is the turf club. So the turf club sits right behind that 316 section that I just showed you. So the seats are great. They're right on the finish line. And you have, great interior with food and drink service. And there's a couple of different options to do the turf club. You can either do it with what we call the walk around, where it's not a reserved seat. That's an option that we sometimes combine with a seat outside in 316, the one that I just showed you. Or you can also get a reserved seat, for example, at one of these tables that's right up against this window line. So pros and cons. One thing that I really love about this option is, of course, it's higher end, food and drinks included. You're sitting right on top of the finish line. Things that I'm not so thrilled about is, for some clients, is that you are sitting behind the glass here. So although you are, of course, protected from the elements, it does take a little bit away from the race, especially when those horses come around that last turn. They're racing down that finish line stretch. You kind of miss a little bit of the roar of the crowd. So that's important to the client. That's definitely something we're thinking about. I'm also going to show you this spot here, which is Millionaire's Row. So this is fourth floor Millionaire's Row is what it's named at. Again, you can see it sits right on top of the finish line being right here. We looked at 316 earlier, and we looked at Turf Club earlier. So now we're just one floor up on the fourth floor. Again, that's called Millionaire's Row. And so I'll show you what that looks like. This is kind of got a little bit of best of both worlds, food and drink included, and it also has a balcony that you can step out onto. So this is another option that's very popular with clients. You can go inside, obviously have a seat at your designated table, food and drink service, prepare for the next race, and then when it's time to go out and watch the race, you step out onto the balcony and see the race. So you kind of get a little bit of the best of both worlds. So that's an option that I really like. All right, let's talk about some of the additional experiences that we like to weave into the Kentucky Derby programs that we put together. I'm going to just do a deep dive on this one here. This is by far my favorite. This is called the Backside Tour. So this is an exclusive access that we offer to our clients to take them back to where the stables are at Churchill Downs and see all the thoroughbreds. This is an early morning tour that we do on Friday before the races. And it's a chance to really mingle with all the horsemen, see some of the hopefuls that are going to be in the races, really up close and personal. We usually always get to talk to some of the trainers, some of the owners, some of the jockeys. We also bring a professional handicapper with us that morning, which is really fun because professional handicapper, basically, they're an expert in horse racing. So they really help our clients sort of get the perspective and understand how to read the horse racing program, how to handicap horses, how to structure bets, and it really sort of brings that whole, that brings that whole experience together for most clients. This is one of the things that most of our clients would come back raving about and say this was by far the highlight of their trip. It is very limited. It's not ticketed, so this is not something that anybody can go off and do. We've been very blessed and fortunate that we've had access to this for the last few years, but we only have a few spots that we can offer on that Friday morning. So that is something that I really highly recommend to clients going to the Kentucky Derby. But we also have other experiences throughout the day. Typically, this is something that we'll offer on a Friday. There are a bunch of different thoroughbred horse farms that we like to take clients to, different bourbon distilleries. There's also the Heritage Farm, which has some unique culinary experiences set up during Derby weekend. And of course, we can do private distillery tours and tastings with the owners of the distilleries, which is always fun. And then there's also a variety of different parties. Typically, these are going to be parties on Friday and Saturday. So Friday night's always a good time to go and engage in some of these events as it's leading up to the Kentucky Derby itself. All right, being cognizant of time, I want to talk to you about sort of the program and pricing and sort of entry level pricing, right? So as an example, here's some of the hotels that I showed you earlier. So packages typically are going to start at the $5,500 per person rate. And that's going to include, that's going to be double occupancy, the 3-night stay at the hotel. It'll have access to the backside tour that I talked about, private transportation on race day, etc. And from there, it just goes up because it really depends on where they want to sit. So these prices are all factoring in that entry level seating that I showed you on one slide in that 300 grandstand level. And from there, it's just an upgrade, depending on where they want to sit at the track. So here's some good questions to talk to your clients or ask your clients as you're sort of trying to position this travel product and qualify them for this event. Good question is, have they ever been to the Kentucky Derby before? If they have, and it's been 10 plus years, obviously, like everything in the world, prices have gone up substantially. So that might be something right off the bat to discuss with them. Other things to talk about is, do they want to attend both days of racing? Now remember, it's a full day of races, 13 races per day, full day of the track. They may not be up for that, and so that's why one of the things that we love to do is really spend Friday indulging in some of all these other activities and experiences and tours that really makes that whole experience at the Kentucky Derby come together. So, what sort of budget are they working with? Obviously, the biggest drivers of the price is going to be the hotel, the seating that they choose, as well as some of all the extra ancillary sort of tours and parties and things that they want to, or that they opt to include as well. So we like to use bracketing as a great way to establish budget. So typically we'll tell people, well, it starts anywhere from $5,500 a person and goes up from there. Average price is roughly around $10,000 or $11,000 a person. How does that sound? And so try to get an idea of where are they at from a budget perspective. All right, some quick questions and answers. How do you work with travel advisors? Well, we love travel advisors, obviously, and we work with them both on a net basis or on a commissional basis. So our commission is 10% on the package price. And do you offer any Virtuoso amenities? Yes. So for all Virtuoso advisors and clients, we're offering a complimentary gift set that includes a variety of different items for both their travel and, of course, memorabilia from the Kentucky Derby. How does the booking process work with us? It's a very consultative process. So we really like to understand, obviously, the budget and kind of what their preferences are, what they're trying to accomplish. And so working with you, or potentially on a three-way phone call if you prefer, as your partner on this, trying to help understand what's most important to the client. Again, like I talked about, do they want to go to both days of races? Do they want to do more tours? What kind of tours do they want? What kind of experience are they hoping to put together and come out with? So what transportation options do we offer? We offer both private, and then we also offer group transportation on Kentucky Derby Day. So those are kind of the two different options. What's the attire for the event? So that to some extent depends on where they're sitting. But I would say, to be safe, if they're sitting inside and some of the hospitality options I talked about, like Millionaires Row or Turf Club, definitely more on the stylish side, with maybe a coat for the men, and of course the beautiful hats for the women, dresses and what have you. If they're sitting outside, they can certainly do the same thing. But obviously they just got to factor in weather. Let's see, do you offer Kentucky Derby hats? Yes, we actually have a milliner that we work with, which is who is able to offer some wonderful options for customizing hats to match outfits. So if that's something that your clients are interested in, please let us know during the booking process so we can certainly set that up. She does a tremendous job, so love our milliner. Do you only sell full travel packages, or can we buy tickets or backside tours from you by themselves? So yeah, we only sell full travel packages. We don't sell tickets by themselves. And of course, the backside tours that I talked about earlier, they're super exclusive. We only have so many slots for that every Friday before the Kentucky Derby. So no, we only sell the complete package. What deposit do you require, and what is the payment schedule? So it all depends on when you book. If you book early, meaning at least 6 months out, it's typically a 25% down payment, and then we can split the payment up from there into either 25% increments or 50% increments. So it just depends on what's most preferable for the client. And then what if the Kentucky Derby is postponed or canceled? So I revert back to the very first slide that I think I showed you with our experience protection plan. That is something that we would recommend for clients that are concerned about the Derby being postponed or canceled. So that's how we would handle that. So I think those are kind of the main questions that we typically get. Again, my name is Philippe from On Point Events. Really appreciate your time taken away from your day and focusing on this. Let us know if there's anything that we can help with, whether it be the Kentucky Derby or any of the other sporting events that we cover. Thanks, Virtuoso.